Is there someone here for all of it? Paul's here.
Paul is here. Derek is going to be here for the picture with the check.
Yeah, okay. All right.
The gentleman,
No, I don't see him. Okay, good enough. All right, ready? Let me know. Are we on? Okay. All right, everybody, welcome to our regular public council meeting for February 3rd, 2025. Here at the town of Torbay. First thing first, before we adopt the agenda, new business, Councillor Tapper.
Pass.
Councillor Manning.
Pass.
Councillor Pollard.
Pass.
Councillor Effie.
Thank you and kindness.
Deputy Mayor.
Pass.
And I got it. Thanks. Anybody want to get on the first Q&A? Besides you, John, I already got you wrote down. Is there anybody else? No? Okay, perfect. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Thank you. Before we get right into our agenda, I just want to acknowledge, I guess, or bring attention to the fact that this is our first public council meeting that we've had since Council Ward Goss passed. And I just want to take a moment and have an opportunity to say a few words about Ward. Give members of council an opportunity to acknowledge him and have something to say. Then we're going to have a moment of silence, about a minute. And then after that, we'll continue on with the rest of the agenda. But I'm just going to read out a statement that I did. I actually wrote this up the same day that I found out Ward passed, and it was a couple days later before we actually posted it. We wanted to wait for the obituary to come out and for the family to get what they needed before I did, but I'm just going to read this out and then we'll go from there. It is with a heavy heart and great sadness that we say goodbye to our friend and colleague Ward Goss. On behalf of council, staff, and residents of the town of Torbay, I wish to extend our heartfelt condolences to his wife Karen and his three beautiful children, Cassidy, Samuel, and McKay. Nothing we could say or do will ease the sadness you are feeling, and nothing will replace the love Ward had for you all. Ward was a friend and fierce advocate for the residents of Torbay, and always chose to do the right thing for the town, even when those decisions may not have been the easy path. Ward brought the same level of passion and dedication to his role as a councillor as he did as a competitor and father. He gave his all for the betterment of the town, his teammates, and most of all, his family. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with and get to know Ward personally and professionally over the past number of years, and would surely miss him. I pray to God will welcome him home and grant peace and comfort to his family at this time of sadness. So, I guess a little bit of time has passed now since that day, and you know, we've all had an opportunity to get together with his family and his friends and celebrate Ward's life. I did have an opportunity to do, I guess, several interview requests that came in from VOCM Telegram. And when I was talking to Paddy Daly, he said, you know, we've heard a lot today about Ward with his sports and the legend that he was at that, but we never really had an opportunity, I guess, to talk about the other things that he did, which was around this council table, within our town and other towns, through his volunteerism with hockey, with softball, with the town, and the input that he had around his table. And I think that we're really going to miss him. I'm going to miss him. And I don't think I really have that much more to say about that. I'm grateful that he chose to put his name forward to serve the residents of the town, and he did a great job, and, you know, I'll remember him always for that. And if any other member of council wants to have anything to say, it's time now to do it. Councilor Appleby?
Thank you, Mayor. Funny how you knew I was gonna wanna have something to say. Ward was more than just a counselor. He was my friend, and he was my friend long before he sat at this table. I first met him and Karen as soccer parents when I ran the soccer association. And I remember watching them bringing their kids in there and, you know, watching them play soccer in the field and always helping out. The next thing he popped up with softball. Him and Steve Rice had something on the go up at the next field, and myself and Tina Ockenlick and team at the time were doing what we could to provide support for that. And every he turned around, you know, he would be somewhere. When I learned to play hockey in September, I came out of the room at Highlandare Rink, and who should be sitting there, standing there with all of his gear and his helmet on? But Ward. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm learning to play hockey." He was coaching the kids, teaching, you know, the young fellas how to play hockey. He absolutely did have an incredible sports career. But as a family man, as a person who loved his family and his kids, as a man who came around this table with integrity, and you know, Mayor, there's a word that you and I both know well, and that's ally. And there's a lot of work that we've done at the Federation of Municipalities around allyship and allyship training. He embodied what it was to be an ally, and he was an ally for everybody. And like Danny St. John's, Danny help me. Breen, thank you. Sorry, Mayor Breen. As Danny Breen says, he says, "Be hard on the issues, but soft on the people." And that's how Ward was when it came to working around this table. He always shared what he had to say. He might not have said a lot in every council meeting, but he certainly shared his thoughts, and he got his points across. So if I could, I just want to share the last text that I had with him. My son Jake was at the Torbay Common, and he came home very proud. These two kids were playing basketball with him and his buddy, and one of them was Ward's son. And I messaged Ward, and I told him how amazing it was for my kid to come home from the Common talking about how great this young fella, Samuel, was to him, and how awesome he was with his buddies. And his last text to me was, "Yep, it's him. He's really good with kids." So to him, his friends, his family, Deputy Mayor Jeff Seymour of Bay Roberts, who was a very close, lifelong friend of his, who would send me pictures on Boxing Night from his shed of him and Ward hanging out. And to everybody who knew and loved him, my deepest condolences. I'm very grateful for the time that I had with him. I even missed him the night as I was here. My battery wasn't charged, going, "I can't get this thing open." If he was here, he'd be there. Huge loss for our community. Huge loss for his family. And my final words, when my dad died after all his years of municipal service, one of the ladies in Bjorn, who was very involved in the volunteer sector, she looked at me and she said, "You know what, Trina? Not everybody gets the legacy that your father left you." And those are my words to his family. Not everybody gets the legacy that Ward Goss left behind. Thank you.
Well said. Ralph? Ralph?
I'm going to try. I first, I guess, met or crossed trails with Ward way back in the years of softball. I was a Metro umpire. Mr. Toomey there was one of us. I did some senior A games at Lions Park, and fortunately I did a few not behind the plate when Ward pitched, but I was on the field as a base umpire. But he was a tower of a man on the mound, and a great, you know. I didn't really know him at that point, but I got to fast forward probably 40 years since I, really came in contact with him again. And that was 3 years ago when he decided to run for council. And I think I called you at the time, and you recommended that I support Ward as a new. So anyway, I did reach out to him, and Rhonda was the other new councillor who was running. And I phoned both Ward and Rhonda at the time, and I said, if you want to put a sign on my front lawn, you're more than welcome. So, when talking to him then, he was bewildered, I think, you know, and he had a sign on my lawn the next day. So, he did very well in the election, obviously, and I had the privilege of serving on some committees with him. And again, he was new in the job, and it took him a few years, but I think he was finally coming into his own this year, and took on the chair of the Corporate Service Committee. But again, it was a shock for everybody when we heard. Actually, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a meeting here, and we had a break, and I was down in the back, and Ward came down, and he said, "Have you got a minute?" But he was respectful as well. You know, ever since he came in contact with me, he referred to me as sir for some, so, you know, everything, yes sir, no sir, and you know. But he said, he never called me Ralph, so he said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Anyway, he said, I'm looking at running again. Would you support me? I said, "Ward, I supported you 3 years ago. And for sure, if you want to put a sign on my lawn, you're more than welcome." But again, he's, "Oh, thank you, sir, thank you, sir." And he was so respectful, you know, in my presence anyway. And, you know I've been around her for a while, and I had got a little bit of seniority, myself and Mary. But he was so, you know, a gentleman all the time, and it's a shame. It's a real shame that it had to end up this way, and he never got to run again, but I'm sure he's been well looked after.
I'd just like to say, as Councillor Tapper said, myself and Ward were the newbies around this table last almost 4 years. And it was a learning process for both of us, and we sort of, I'm going to say, reacted somewhat in the same way, in the sense that we sort of sat back certainly in the first couple of years, and listened. And as you said, starting to come into ourselves this last year or so, right? Everything that's been said, I'm not going to repeat it because it's all true, and you can say it 600,000 times. But there was one word that I want to put out there, was that I'm humbled to have had the opportunity to sit around this table and discuss and argue and smile and laugh and make those hard decisions, but still be able to walk up and go out down those stairs and have a "how are you doing" type thing. So that's really what I wanted to put out there, that one word, humbled and honoured to have sat with him. That's it.
Yeah. Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, like I said to Karen at the wake, I said, you know, gone too early, and there's nothing I can say in words that will ever take away the grief and the surprise and the shock that we all felt on Ward's passing. I never knew Ward as an athlete. As a matter of fact, I never knew Ward at all until I happened to meet him. I saw his real estate signs up, and I happened to meet him when we were putting our signs up on the pork chop. And we were hammering them in, and he loaned me his sledgehammer, and I proceeded to bash my thumb as I did, so we had a grand chuckle over that. So that was the first part of it. And I had the pleasure and honor of sharing, you know, being on committees with Ward, and he was always straightforward, sensible, no drama, and he only said what needed to be said, so we always appreciated that. I'll always remember, whenever I say can of worms now, and people won't know this, but anyone around the table certainly knows, he's giving me a hard time later because I say, "Open the can of worms, open the can of worms." He called it Tony's can of worms. When I plug my computer in now, he always say, "You don't need to plug your computer in, you only get an hour. The battery will stay charged." I look at it and say, such a young, you know, gentleman, and he always loved his family, sure, number one, and the students of the schools. He'd always bring back their successes to the table whenever they did anything, and he'd be so proud of that. So I just want to share my, you know, condolences to Karen, Cassidy, Mackie, and Sam. And you know, like I said, there's no words can say or bring back that. Just cherish the memories in your heart.
Thanks. Mayor?
I'm deeply saddened by the passing of our fellow councillor and friend who sat between myself and Councillor Appleby the past 3.5 years. And as anybody knows, he had to have strong shoulders to be sitting in there in the midst between myself and Trina, but he was always good to talk to afterwards, and I sat on the Recreation Committee with him for the past 2 years as well. I guess for me, I just can't believe he's gone, and he texted me a few times since I had my accident, and I keep reading down over those, and I still can't believe, actually up till the day before it happened. His dedication to our community, his kindness, and his unwavering commitment to the serving of others will never be forgotten. Torbay has lost a true leader, and I have lost a very valued colleague. My heartfelt condolences go out to his wife, Karen, and his children, Sam, Cassidy, and Mackie, and his parents, Lewis and Janet, and his many other family members, teammates, sports colleagues, friends, and all who had the privilege of knowing him. May he rest in peace.
Thank you. Sandy, you or Kim, or anybody else want to say anything? Or?
Yeah, no, I'll just speak briefly. I mean, I knew Ward before coming into this position, briefly, just a couple of presentations and work that I had done for council prior to coming into this position. But of course, after taking this position in October of 2023, I got to know Ward quite a bit. And I just echo what Councillor Pollard said. I mean, an absolute voice of reason, respect. You know, and when Ward spoke, we all listened, because when he spoke, you knew there was something valuable that was being said. He and I talked a lot together. He contacted me and called me regularly as the CAO, and I'll certainly always cherish and remember those conversations that we had. And really, as I said, I mean, a voice of reason and respect around the table, and that will never ever be forgotten. He is a model for any person that wants to run for council. You know, Ward was an absolute model for that, and someone to be respected and looked up to. And I want his family to know that he brought that respect to the table, and as I said, was a model for others that want to wear those types of shoes. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so I'll just close up. I finished listening to you guys. I thought of something. I remember right after the last election, Ward and Rhonda were the two newbies on the block, and I had the exact same conversation with Ward as I had with Rhonda. We had a really tough agenda item that was coming up that was going to require a vote. Myself and Ward sat down downstairs, and I had the same conversation with Rhonda. He was looking for direction on where we should go with this. And I told him, I said, Ward, I am never ever going to tell you what decision to make. If you want advice, I'll give it to you, I'll give you my opinion. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to be able to make your own decisions, and when you lay your head down at the pillow at night, that you're good with the decisions that you make. And I had the same conversation with Rhonda, and they both do that. Ward was thoughtful on what he did and what he said, and he always voted with his conscience. And I think that's important. And I think that the relationship that we have here, that it works that way, that I, as the mayor, I will never tell anybody what to do or how to think or what to do, and I know that he really appreciated that because he told me. And with that, I think we'll have our moment of silence right now. right. Thanks, everybody. And thank you to people here for, I guess, being here tonight with us. All right, back to the agenda. We have a set of public council minutes for January 6th. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And is there any errors or omissions?
Mayor, before we adopt those, if I could thank Kim and Sandy for their help. There were a couple of observations that I asked to have looked at in the minutes, and they were very kind to fix the questions that I had. So I just want to acknowledge them and say thank you to both of them for doing that. And the only thing I just wanted, Kim, if you can double check, there was a comment in there that we talked about where I said there was no discussion prior to the time set out regarding availability. I thought about it on the way over. I think that there was a part of it where I did say, because I did go back and look at the meetings and when they were scheduled, and I thought the comment was they were decided during the meetings when the next one was, and there wasn't a week's notice. That's what I think my comments were. So if we could just double check that part to make sure it's accurate, that's all. But I want to acknowledge you and Sandy and thank you both for making sure that that reflects exactly what it was. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you. Conflict of interest. Sheet is there. Any issues come up, please raise them at the time the motions are coming forward. Proclamations, presentations, question and answer. Okay. First, we have a presentation for Robbie Hicks. Do I have anything wrote down here anywhere? Kim? Do I have anything?
I know one.
No, I don't. Oh, okay, all right. In my mind, I was gonna prepare it. Okay, perfect, that's the right. That's the right way to do it. So we do have a small presentation, thank you, for Robbie Hicks tonight. Robbie has been a volunteer and an avid watcher of council, if I, for lack of a better word, I guess. We rode at it a long time. But she was also a member of our Environmental Advisory Committee that worked with our planning committee on applications coming forward. She's also been an active member of the Torbay Coyotes with the East Coast Trail Association. And that's what we're talking about here tonight, right? East Coast Trail Association, please? Or everything?
The involvement with the Environmental Advisory Committee, because she stepped down and somebody else stepped.
Okay. But we can't talk about that without having to talk about our contribution to trails and the environment in the town of Torbay. It all goes hand in hand. And I think that you're also a member of the original, what was it, Torbay Environmental Trails Committee, TETC, whatever it is. But Robbie, thank you very much for all the work that you've done with the town over the years. And I know that you put in a lot of hours, and it's important for us as a council to have people that are knowledgeable and are able to give us constructive input when it comes to environmental issues in the town. I think that we've made a lot of strides over the last 10, 12 years that, you know, to raise awareness of the impacts of development in certain areas, the impacts of climate change on the things that we're doing, and your contribution to that is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for that. I do have a little presentation here for you. Get a gift card. Are you coming up?
Sure.
No gift card, I got a gift bag.
Do you want to snap a picture?
we got a big check. Okay, all right, perfect. So the next on the agenda, we have a check presentation for Northeast Avalon Food Bank. And this is to do with the fundraising that was done at the History House, right, over Christmas time? With the Festival of Trees.
Yeah.
Oh my, so many things to keep in my mind. But, you know, I want to thank the staff and the volunteers at the History House and the residents who came in and donated money. And I guess it was all one big community team effort, which is what we like to see. And which is what's really good about the History House, because that's what it's all about up there. And I guess without further ado, there's somebody here from the Northeast Avalon Food Bank. And we got this new big check that we're going to be using.
I thought you and the mayor would get on each end and,
Cassie,
yes. Cassie, yes. Hi. Sure, absolutely. Whoever would like to come up, they're more than welcome. Robbie, yes, come up, come up, come up. Come up. Hang on.
Oh, I got the real check here, too.
Yes.
Stand forward.
That is the real check, Mayor.
What is this?
We just couldn't find a big enough envelope, that's all.
Yeah, sure thing, absolutely.
Smile now, Pets.
Just, okay, everybody look at me. Okay, and we gotta get one for ourselves now. Nice looking bunch, good.
All right, excellent. You can, if you want. You want to go on the microphone?
To the mic, look, go to the mic.
Everybody can hear you?
Oh, in case, okay, I forget.
From the Northeast Avalon Food Bank, we just wanted to say a huge thank you for all the fundraising efforts and initiatives. The money for this, actually, we've come up with a pilot program for kids when they're off school so that they have extra food in the house. And this will pay for the Easter food when kids are off for 10 days over Easter. So thank you. It goes a long way, and people really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Cassie, I know you're a member of the new board, and I just want to wish you all the best, and I know you guys are going to do a great job, and we're really looking forward to working with you going forward. Thank you. That's all right. Be glad we gave you that little check to fit your car and send that one. All right.
See you later.
All righty, now, proclamations, Eating Disorder Awareness Week. Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Eating Disorders Awareness Week, February 1st to the 7th, 2025. Whereas an eating disorder is a serious mental illness with often devastating physical implications. Whereas eating disorders affect many individuals and families in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Whereas recovery from an eating disorder is a journey that includes support from families and caregivers. Whereas the Eating Disorder Foundation of Newfoundland and Labrador is a leadership advocacy group dedicated to promoting awareness, treatment services, and providing family support services and information about matters related to eating disorders. Whereas Eating Disorders Awareness Week is a time dedicated to raising awareness, promoting understanding, and providing support to individuals affected by this illness. Whereas February 1st to the 7th, 2025 is dedicated across Newfoundland and Labrador and the entire country as a special time when many educational and awareness activities take place to help raise the level of understanding of eating disorder, prevention, treatment, and recovery. Whereas the theme for Eating Disorder Awareness Week 2025 is Embracing Possibilities.
Therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the Town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim February 1st to the 7th, 2025, be observed as Eating Disorder Awareness Week in the Town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Paul Toomey is here from the Eating Disorder Newfoundland Labrador.
Yes.
I'm going to jump up and get a quick picture and then give Paul an opportunity to have a few words.
He's up there.
about it last year, though, that we had them.
All right. Councilor Hart. So we put the flag up tomorrow morning. If you want to have a couple words about the Stewart Foundation.
Yeah, it's on there.
First, I'd just like to offer my condolences to council and staff on Ward's passing. I, like Councillor Tapper, knew Ward back from our softball days and that, and umpiring, and the term gentleman was used, and he must have been a gentleman, because I don't ever remember having an argument with him when I was calling balls and strikes, so that's kind of strange. But no, great guy, great guy. Anyway, thank you very much once again to the town of Torbay, your worship, and councillors. I've been here, coming here for a good number of years, I guess almost the number of years I've been with the Eating Disorder Foundation as we celebrate Eating Disorder Awareness Week in the first week of February. And Torbay, and particularly, I'm pleased because I am a resident of Torbay, so it's certainly proud of the fact that the council takes the time to recognize eating disorders and the work that we do to create awareness. And that's what this week is all about for us, creating awareness about eating disorders and trying to break down the stigma of people not coming forward for treatment. So I'm happy for this opportunity. I'm delighted that you folks are going to be flying our flag, your brand new flag. And we appreciate it. The theme for this week, Embracing Possibilities, really talks about the community, and the possibilities become greater for cure and for creating more awareness when everybody, communities, individuals, governments, all forms of government, and ourselves get together to promote awareness about the illness. So thank you for taking the time to do that. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak briefly this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Next on my list is Scout Guide. Deputy Mayor.
Scout Guide Week, February 17th to the 22nd, 2025 proclamation. Whereas the town of Torbay recognizes the significant contributions of scouting and guiding organizations to the development of young people in our community, and whereas scouts and guides provide opportunities for personal growth, leadership, outdoor education, and community service to youth of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities. And whereas the value of scouting and guiding align with the town's commitment to fostering engaged, responsible, and compassionate citizens, and whereas February 17th to the 22nd, 2025 marks Scout Guide Week, a time to celebrate the enduring legacy of these programs and their positive impact on individuals and the community as a whole.
Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Craig Scott, on behalf of the Town of Torbay Council, wish both Scouts Canada and Guides of Canada continued success for a strong and vibrant future, so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
If I could.
All right.
I just want to thank the volunteers and the families that make that possible. I know I was down marshalling a half marathon race earlier the year, and the very first group that I ran into were the Girl Guides, who were out in the water stations very early in the morning, making sure that people who were running, there was 2 races happening that day, and who were running had, something to drink. I know that with the scouts, there's an awful lot of activity and work and time that goes into that, and I've been invited into some of these spaces to provide some support. And I see the messages coming through and the work that people are putting into it, and you're building tomorrow's leaders. Really, is what they're doing. They're teaching these children how to integrate in the community, how to serve their community, what that means to be a volunteer, and teaching to lead with integrity and dignity and collaboration. Such wonderful skills, right? So just wanted to extend that thank you and recognize their time and effort, because it certainly pays dividends in years to come. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, well said. All right, any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And one more. Municipal Heritage Week. Councilor Pepper.
Heritage Day Week Proclamation 2025. Whereas the third Monday in February is recognized nationally as Heritage Day, and whereas Heritage Day and Heritage Week are a time to reflect on the achievements of past generations and to accept responsibility for protecting our heritage. And whereas our citizens should be encouraged to celebrate Newfoundland and Labrador's uniqueness and to rejoice in our heritage. And whereas in 2025, residents of Newfoundland and Labrador will celebrate our rich and diverse heritage.
Therefore, I, Craig Scott, on behalf of the town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim Monday, February 17, 2025, as Heritage Day, and February 17th to the 23rd, 2025, Heritage Week, and call upon all citizens to celebrate the riches of our past and the promise of our future. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Go ahead.
Just want a few words. I guess everybody knows in this room that Torbay has a long, long history when it comes to heritage, and our community is blessed with, from our ancestors, Irish and English, and now we're becoming more diverse within our community. So it's great to at least, especially teach our kids in school and pass it on within our own families, the history that is so unique, I think, within the province. We have the heritage, or the Torbay History House and Museum, which is now open to everybody, and the people rolling through really are impressed with not only the artifacts inside, but the programs and anything that's associated with the History House. And again, I invite everybody to continue supporting that heritage. It's not recognized as a heritage building yet, but it will be. So I support this proclamation.
Thank you. Ever comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, where would you? John Cody. Floor is yours, buddy.
Good evening, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and councillors. I'd like to ask you a question, all as a group, as a council, that I want to talk about the watershed area. That's what I'm here to talk about. So you guys rescinded a motion that was made here 30 years ago. Not any one of you guys. Ralph, I don't even think you were on council with us, because I was sitting right there. So I ask you guys, how come you can rescind the motion and you can send a letter out for taxes, but why didn't you send a letter out first to saying that you were going to rescind the motion due to a watershed area because of whatever you explained to Craig, but why wasn't, there was a lot of other property owners, and back in the day, there was one property owner had 200 acres. I can't believe that they're not here talking about it. Maybe they were, I don't know, in previous. So can someone answer the question of why you guys didn't send out some notification to us so that we could come over and talk about it? And you tell us why you're doing it and why you done it? This was a motion 30 years ago, before you guys. Now, maybe you passed a motion, blah, blah, but it was put there. I know because I had to abstain from voting. So do anyone have, have an explanation of why we weren't notified that you were going to do this? Then you done it, then you sent a letter out for taxes. There's no explanation, no letter coming out or anything like this.
Why?
You know who the people are because you sent this letter out for taxes.
Right.
So there could have been a letter saying, listen, next council meeting we are thinking about doing this.
Right.
You just done it.
To that point, I don't really have an answer for that, John. why we wouldn't have sent out a notification. I mean, typically, when our council package goes out, and I know that not everybody goes and looks at it, but it would have been there prior. But to your point, unless you were, I guess, looking at it every week, or you had an application before the town or whatever, maybe you might not go look at the council package. I do know that the motion that we rescinded was one from
2009.
What?
2009.
From 2009, that the council at that time had made. And then we were made aware that it was against the Municipalities Act. So even the Municipalities Act that we're dealing with now is 1999, right?
99 was the previous.
Right,
Yeah.
the one previous.
Yeah.
So the motion that you're talking about would have been even prior to that.
95.
To that legislation, right? And I would assume, I'm just guessing, that the prior council passed it again because with the new legislation, that what we found out was that it was contrary to the Municipalities Act. So we were, basically, it was a legal motion. And so we had no choice but to correct it. I will say this though, I talked to Sandy today about looking at the new act that just came into effect in January, to see if there is any, I guess, provisions in there that would allow us to do something like that through that process. And he's gonna take a look and see. And then we can discuss as council, if council is still of the feeling that watershed areas should be exempted from the tax rolls, then we can have that discussion.
Well, you know, guys, I don't know if you all know that we can't use land. We don't even have access to it because when the new bylaw, so we got to go in through your gate that's locked after hours. Yes, we can get a key or whatever like this, but I mean, you know, there's restricted access to it. We can't use it. Can't do nothing with it. Now you want us to pay taxes on it. You know, it's a piece of land that the town should own. All the watershed area around, that was discussed back in 1995.
About purchasing, you mean?
Yes. There was a big discussion back then because the property owners that owned it, hundreds of acres, I mean, they were affected big time. Now, I don't know how, if any of that's after been taken out because they own the land in Southland. Southland, sorry. Southland. But, you know, there's a lot of factors I think you guys should be looking at before you just bang, you know.
Right. So, listen, I understand completely where you're coming from, and we talked about this on the phone.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, well, I still want to come over and talk to you.
no, that's fair enough, and I welcome you to come here and talk about it, because it is an issue that obviously, the prior council, and even this council, we agreed with that. But the problem was that we weren't allowed to do it, so we had to fix that. And, but if we can explore if there is a way that we can do that and meet the requirements of the Municipalities Act. And
Which would be good.
And then we'll let you know, but we'll look at it.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks. Now, mayor's report.
See you later.
See ya. See you, Jimmy. Oh, okay. We got a mass exodus.
Get over what you can.
Thanks,
See you,
Derek.
folks. All right. Mayor's report. Normally, we would have probably had if we had done our last meeting, we would have had a proclamation for Bell Let's Talk Day. However, I just wanted to add here to the agenda that we did put the flag up, and I guess to recognize Bell Let's Talk Day and the contributions that makes to mental health. That's all it's there for. Also, birthdays for the month of February. Josh Banks, Recreation and Community Services, February 3rd. Desiree Finley,
Today.
Oh, yeah,
Josh's
today,
birthday.
okay, right. Desiree Finley, February 4th, tomorrow, Corporate Services. Hannah Cooper, February 6th, Torbay History House Museum. Emma Harris, February 14th, Rec and Community Services. Samuel Goss, February 15th, Rec and Community Services. Donna Norvey, February 19th, Torbay History House Museum. Lisa Lewis, February 24th, Infrastructure and Public Works. And Bob Goss, February 25th, Infrastructure and Public Works. I want to wish you all a happy birthday, and I hope you have a safe and fun time. Karen. Okay. Now, moving on. Business Rising Report. Councilor Pollard?
You want me to start?
Yeah, I think, and even, you know, based on the distraction in Ottawa at the present time too, you know, I think we should really make sure we keep our finger on the pulse there and make sure they can move forward and not fall by the wayside, because, you know, given all the crap that's going on, they can fall by the wayside pretty easily.
There is a bit of an update.
Okay.
So a brief update. So unbeknownst to any of us, the application process involves a part 2. So we did receive notification from Infrastructure Canada that our application had passed stage 1, and they sent it back to us and asked us to complete stage 2, which we've done. So that's been done. Kerry has worked on that, and that's submitted again. So we're still in the queue.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the nature of stage 2?
I was asking
There's a whole bunch of, yeah, what was nature of stage 2?
additional financial information. Kerry can add to that.
More financial information?
Yeah,
No,
go ahead,
Karen
Kerry.
does need that. Thanks, Kerry. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, nobody knew. Nobody was advised that there was a stage 2 to any of this.
Somebody knew, sorry, not us.
No, not us. Somebody
in
knew,
the
but
whole
didn't. Yeah.
Conversation process knew.
Yep.
I fail to understand how we can't get the right information to go forward without having the more stumbling blocks and time delays. It absolutely behooves me how an open and transparent conversation can take place on something as important as this for the town. I mean, it's unacceptable, it really is, to not have that knowledge. It's okay to have 2 parts to it, but why someone should have said to us, there's 2 parts, not submit your application and we'll make sure it gets plucked out of the pile and then reviewed and sent back to you again to put more information in.
Yep.
Like, that's even nonsensical. Anyway, sorry.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you've said.
I know you're not. And that wasn't meant for you, that was
No,
meant
I know,
for
I know.
whoever may look.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yep, I hear you. I guess the one positive that comes out of that is at least we got past stage 1.
As long as it's not stage 3.
Right.
Can you just let the people in the hall?
Well, basically
What are you talking about?
what Councilor Pollard's asking about is we did submit an application for $35 million.
35 million plus,
to Infrastructure Canada
Yeah.
with regards to our new water supply at Great Pond. And so that's kind of what we're talking about, that application process, where we're going, and I think I'll have to make a phone call tomorrow.
I think we should follow up. Yeah.
Yeah, with the MP and make sure that this process is going where it's supposed to be, not, and why it was there a stage 2 that we weren't aware of.
Well, the scary thing about that is that if there was a deadline to have that in, and we got the first part of it and we didn't know about the second, then we could have been looked at potentially as saying that you could
Yeah,
have missed the deadline
Yeah,
because we didn't know that
No, I
there
don't-
was
I-
a second part.
Yeah, I don't think this is
I
the
know,
case,
but the way, like what Councillor Pollard is saying, if by chance there was a second part and we didn't have it in by a certain time,
Right.
it could have just as easily been
Yeah.
that
When
could
when they
happen as
when
well,
they
right?
when they notified us of part 2, they gave us 7 days. So there was a second deadline.
Yeah, so that's,
Okay.
I guess, part of that process. So you couldn't find out about stage 2 until you
And I
got past stage 1.
got through
right?
stage
Yeah.
1, maybe that's what it's about.
Oh, boy, anyway,
At least we got part through one phase.
it's moving forward.
Yeah, but a conversation with the minister's office, I think,
Yes.
is warranted here.
Yeah, we can do that tomorrow.
And just on that too, I mean, you know, it's even more important now because, you know, if indeed the situation in Ottawa stays the way it is with those tariffs, that's gonna be the main focus. And to come up with $35 million for Torbay, Newfoundland, I mean, when they're looking at trying to, you know, smooth out the impacts of that over all the country, boy, it just makes it way more uphill, so I think we really gotta try.
It's a difficult environment to be in right now.
And that's why we gotta push before anything else happens before.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Agreed. All right. Correspondence. There's an update there from Stewardship Association of Municipalities. Happy New Year. It's forwarded on to planning or community service or wherever it goes. Heritage Week Municipal Challenge from Municipalities Newfoundland Outdoor. Any dates on this thing? February 17th to the 23rd. That can go to Kerry.
Yeah, and I saw that in there, and I'm just wondering, Carrie, if that's something that we can look at doing, if at all possible. So I don't know what we need, but we can add it to our agenda for our meeting for next Monday for sure.
All right.
Thanks.
Committees Council. Committee of the whole minutes from January 13th. There's motions in there. Okay? So, what do they pertain to? Let me have a look. Building, History House, storage, this is for History House. So, Councilor Tapper, you want to roll with those? No? It don't matter, he can do them all.
Resolved that the town of Torbay reject request for tax, no, sorry,
This one.
That's
one
motion
of them.
one, okay. Reject a request for taxation relief under section 115 of the Towns and Local Service Districts Act, TLSDA, as municipal taxes are based on property values. Therefore, the town has no role in determining property values. The responsibility of assessment lies with the municipal assessment agency. The town would encourage any resident who feels that their assessment is not accurate to contact the agency. Additionally, the town would like to clarify that all the residents still avail of the suite of services provided by the town, like fire protection, garbage collection, snow clearing, etc., and use of the town's infrastructure and facilities. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comment?
Before we pass this motion, is there any information that we can disseminate to the community through our social media channels around how to contact the municipal assessment agency, what their scope is, how they could apply for an appeal, that kind of conversation? I mean, the motion's not wrong. The town sets the mill rate, the case by case per property decision of their value is at the municipal assessment agency. But I'm wondering, and maybe Mary, you're best to speak to that because you're our rep for the MAA. But I'm wondering, is there communication that's available that maybe the municipal assessment agency can share with the town of Torbay, and maybe we can put it through our social media channels for people who are concerned about their property assessment? And, you know, if they want to have an appeal and what that looks like, or a little bit more about how this works, so that residents could be better aware of that process. I think that's
Whenever
important.
everybody gets their assessment, the information to contact them and the appeal and all of their information is in there.
It's already there.
In
It's all in
that,
the package,
right?
yeah.
So it's all in the package, because I'm thinking if you, like, how do you determine who these people might even be? I didn't think we even knew who all the people were that were affected by that, but it does go out through MAA, right, when you get your assessment.
But if someone opened their envelope and didn't see it, and the conversation happened at dinner table or in a shed afterwards, and they wanted to find out, it's nice to have it available through our social media channels. That's what they're there for, they're official town channels, that people can go back and get information. So the question I have is just, is there a way to take information from the municipal assessment agency? Do they have, you would expect they would have communications that would go out around how
But
they do
there
the
is,
business?
and there's a date, right?
Yeah.
to-
All right, okay,
if-
hang on.
No, I'm just saying there is a date if you need to appeal when you
Right.
get your assessment, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. Because if we put it out there now, it would seem like they would be able to appeal it now, but there's a deadline once the assessment goes out, is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to
There's
get
a-
at.
But there's the ability of, in case you missed it, like incomes, you'll see ICYM,
Right.
and then, you know, sharing information.
all right.
The question here is not to change anything, is to better inform the public so that residents know where to find that
I
information.
understand that this particular motion is not really connected to that. This is more of a legal question that we discussed at a committee of the whole. The issue around assessments and everything is separate from this. So I think we'll just,
The
We'll
responsibility
call it
of
question
the
there.
assessment lies with the municipal assessment agency. The town would
Councillor Appleby.
encourage any residents who feel that their assessment is not accurate to contact the agency.
yes,
The reason I brought the point up is specific to those lines
I
in the
understand,
motion.
I understand that, but this particular motion is specific to a specific request the town received.
I'm aware of what the motion's
Okay.
about. What I'm asking is for, on a blanket level, for that
Question.
information to be
We,
shared.
we can look at that through corporate services, separate from this,
You can,
all right? Okay, we can look at that, Director? Thank you. Call a question. Go ahead.
Have we notified, this is sort of follows up with the whole discussion around we followed up with the province to give them a heads up about the potential impairment of assessed values?
yeah.
I mentioned at the last meeting that we should contact the province to let them know that we should not be on the hook, regardless of which way this rolls out, for any impairment potential for this assessed value.
I did have that conversation with our member. The next stage of that was to contact the province and copy, but then a series of events led to that delay. That's all I can say.
Sorry. Or series of events,
We had a councillor,
yes, sorry, sorry, the intention is to move forward.
so, I mean,
The intention is to go forward,
Yes.
right? Yes, okay, thanks, yeah, that's
yes,
fine.
but that was delayed because of
Yeah, I
everything that
understand
happened.
Understandable.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Motion 2, resolved that the town of Torbay approves the utilization of its legal resources for all matters dealing with per and polyfluoride alcohol substances, PFAS, and any other subsequent matters, including taxation and assessment appeals from residents in the affected area of the town. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Question.
Before you ask the question, these three issues were dealt with at a privileged meeting of council for a specific reason, because these items were privileged. The discussion around those happened at that privileged meeting. It was agreed that the motions would be brought forward. I don't know, we had to be careful that we don't get into speaking about privilege items at the council meeting. We brought forward the recommendations, but we had to be careful on that, ACO.
Respectfully, Mayor, the question I just asked was not pertaining to anything that would be privileged.
I'm talking
or-
about this one.
This one, the
I-
question, if I were allowed to ask my question.
Can I
It
just,
could be
before you
determined
go,
at that point, but
can
the
you-
question I have to ask is not
before you
privileged.
go forward, can I please just say,
It's legal.
yes, you can ask a question. But let us not forget that the rules. So you get to speak to a motion once, and I just want to remind everybody, because the last one there, you got to a little bit of back and forth, no worries, but that is not how we do our debate around motions. We need to follow our rules, so if you want to go ahead, go ahead.
Respectfully noting that, I was interrupted before I was able to finish my comment. That's why there was an extra comment from me. My question in this instance is there a limit that we have, is this a budgeted amount? And is there a limit for what we're saying here that we're looking at in costing tax, or cost for the taxpayer?
Okay, I'll go. We didn't discuss limits because, of course, it's impossible to tell what those legal costs may be. But as a CAO, I mean, at least this gives me the authority to, on a reasonable perspective, be able to engage legal services for this. This is something we had to be extremely careful with. It's something that we have to be, fully supportive of our residents, and we have to be able to make appropriate decisions, that affect the lives of the residents here, significant impact on them. So this is an opportunity for us as a town to be able to make sure that we're making appropriate legal decisions, and we don't know what those costs are going to be.
Where's that money coming from?
We have legal, GLs in our budget that deal with the ability to hire legal or lawyers to look at these types of issues. So that's the money that's there for that. It's budgeted for our legal advice and guidance.
So is this motion for money over and above that, or only the money that's budgeted? Because that's gonna impact on my vote. If what this motion is going to do, the way it's written is that it's carte blanche to engage legal,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's a carte blanche, then I've got a concern with that.
Well, all I
If
can
it's
say
within
there,
budgeted funds,
all I can say there is that it will be within approved budget funds. If we go beyond that, then we'll have to come back to council before any decisions are made to move beyond what's already budgeted for. So this isn't giving a carte blanche ability for the town to spend money that hasn't been budgeted, I guess is really what you're getting at.
Okay.
is it possible to have a friendly amendment so that that's noted?
Any other
Just
questions?
on the note, and, I mean, I don't think there's any way to know what the potential dollars are associated with here. And the nature of it, in my mind, in my opinion, is that we can't necessarily stop it. We can only be apprised of the limits to where we are, and once it reaches the limit in the budget, it comes back for further discussion with council and then moves on. But, and there might be recovery of costs somewhere down the road too, who knows? But I can't see how we can traverse down this path and say, once we reach a certain dollar limit, we have to stop. I mean, we might have to go elsewhere, and we have to go to provincial government or somewhere along those lines to do it, but just the whole nature of this, because this one ties into the one above it too, and the whole circumstance around what we're not supposed to discuss, and we just have to see where it falls out.
And just further to that as well, I mean, this isn't necessarily a hard stop. I mean, as we are moving down this road, as we engage legal services, we had to make the determination of and be able to better predict at that point what this is going to cost. Right now, we don't know, we're not sure. But as we move down the road, we're going to get a better idea of what those costs will be, and anything that exceeds what's already been appropriately budgeted will have to come back to this table. It'll have to come back to the public chamber for discussion.
Any other comment?
I asked the question about a friendly amendment to reflect that. Is that possible?
In what respect?
Reflect what?
Just, the way that it's written here, it says that resolve the town of Torbay approves the utilization of its legal resources for all matters dealing with PFAS and any other subsequent matters, including taxation, assessment, appeals. But there's no cap, there's no mention that it's within our budget. And I just want to make sure that it's captured, that we are stating here that we approve this, I approve this, I don't disagree that we need to do this. I just want to make sure there's something there that the public can go back to and say, within the current budget allocations that we have, and if there is further, we bring it back to the table. I'm not saying that the town should be vulnerable in this space, I believe that's important, but I just want to make sure that there are checks and balances in place for the public so that we understand, because I don't want someone to come back to this motion and say, you didn't put anything in there though that said it capped out at, or you need to come back.
Well,
to
actually,
the table at.
if you
So
look
that's
at-
why I was
yeah.
just wondering about the amendment.
If you look at the wording, it says to approve the utilization of its legal resources. That's the legal resources that we have. They're not additional resources, right? That's not
Got
what
it.
we're asking for.
Okay.
But if you look at the way the motion is worded, it's using our current legal resources that we have. Look at the first sentence there.
Then
Approves utilization of its
Legal resources. Yeah, the resources that we have, right? So that's the intent here, not additional resources. Any additional resources would have to come back.
Okay, all right, understanding
Yeah.
that's the spirit of the motion.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Third one, Ralph.
Motion 3, resolved that the town of Torbay move forward with the mold remedial and recommendation study at Torbay History House as per quote number 24-0059-01 from Gibbons Snow Architects, Inc. in the amount of $11,860 plus HST. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
One here. We've had mold issues in this basement for the last while. I know the director has been working on finding solutions. Is it expected that this remediation will be the final answer? We had this conversation, we're looking at the HVAC systems going in, making sure that there was a proper system. That was not the decision of council. Council took a decision to put in the mini splits last year that were
Yep.
budgeted and approved at that time. We did have the conversation at committee about putting a full system in through the whole building, but that wasn't the direction we took. So I
No.
just want to make sure before we pass this motion, if we're going to spend another $12,000, almost, well, by the time HST goes on it, $11,860, do we have a plan in place so we're not back here again next year looking at a remediation situation?
Well, what this is going to do is tell us exactly the extent of the problem, and it's going to give us the options for remediation. Mold remediation is not something to be taken lightly. You have to know what you're doing. As a matter of fact, this was brought up in the previous year budget to have, because we can throw solutions at it. I mean, we can put in commercial dehumidifiers and we can put in HVAC systems, but we don't know, we don't have the expertise to understand and realize what needs to be done here. So the intent of this is to give us those answers. So this is the study to go in, determine the extent of the problem, first of all, tell us exactly what needs to be done in order to address it. Yeah. This isn't solving the problem. This is telling what the problem is. This is going to tell us exactly what the problem is and how we go about repairing and fixing it.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Committee to hold minutes of January 27th, 2025. Any motions in, hang on now. Can we have a motion to adopt those committee to hold minutes January 13th, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Committee to hold minutes of January 27th. There's no motions in here. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
No, question? Comment?
Right.
I have a concern here with the conversation around the committee agenda and how we're setting that up. I brought it up in the committee of the whole, and I'm going to bring it up here as well in the public chamber. The question that I asked was, why is it that we aren't making the committee meetings virtually available as well? I was advised during committee of the whole that that decision was taken by council. However, I'm asking the council reconsider that. We offer our public council meetings virtually. The directors have been participating since COVID with Zoom links, and it's a normal practice to have them. There is no limit in the rules and procedures of how many times a councillor can participate in a public meeting, which is excellent, because I remember a couple of years ago having that fight, and it's great to see that progress. However, there are people in our community, we have seniors, we talk about being inclusive. If we're going to be an inclusive community, we need to make sure that we're making council business available to all residents. And if we want people to be putting their names on a ballot, if we want people to be engaged in the community, following the good work that we do here at this table, being aware of the service and the work that happens, I think it's really important that we have that open transparency and accountability. So what it says here is, if you're mobile and you have the ability to get out, especially in the winter, in the snow, in the storm, and you can get to that space and you can show up in person, you can come and see what's happening at a committee discussion. But if you can't get there, then guess what? You don't get to see it the same way. And Mr. Cody just came and he spoke to, and I was going to bring this up when we adopted the rules and procedures, but I'll do it now. He talks about giving notice to people about the conversations that we're having at committee. So his question was, why wasn't I notified? Well, if it's a development and we're doing work on that, there's regulations about how far out you need to share correspondence about a development. But if there are motions that are affecting people in the area and it's coming through committee for discussion, part of that conversation can be, how do we notify, or do we notify people in that region? The other part of it is for them to be able to participate. Some of them might be on holidays. They could be away, working away. There's all kinds of reasons why people can't be there in person. Lots of people go back and they watch these meetings afterwards. They get the information, they understand what councilors were talking about, they understand the in-depth decisions that we make. So I think it's really important that council reconsider making sure that our meetings, all of them as per legislation, are accessible and available and open to the public. Our staff, our directors, who will be in those meetings as a staff person, are able to create Teams links or Zoom links and set people on mute. There's no additional cost, there's no additional time. I'm asking for that extra layer of transparency and accountability for the public. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment?
I just want to clarify one point, and I'm not in disagreement or with the overall request, is the fact, the reference to legislatively required, we're only required to have a meeting, not have it by Zoom. So I'm just saying, so it doesn't make it seem like we're doing something illegal at the present time, because we're not, meetings are available, just not available by Zoom. But, you know, I don't have a problem with reviewing whether or not we're on a Zoom meetings. I think it's problematic. There's a lot more effort associated with it, but I'd like to know what that looks like at the end of the day, certainly. Sure.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Jeez, what's this one? Oh, I was looking at the motions in the other report. Okay, carry on. Planning land use development, Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Oh, did I? Yeah, okay, never mind, carry on.
I think. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, sure. Wait for the load. I'm gonna go to the meetings of the 30th rather than, and then I think there's one meeting, I think it's a duplication of motions because we discussed some of the same things at the meetings. There is one motion in the previous date that needs to be brought forward. I don't know if that's been changed at 6:04 or 6:05, was it, Kim?
Check if they are. I'll just quickly check if they're all there on the second set of reports.
There was. So if I refer to the Thursday, January 30th meetings, the first item up is a motion for combined office, warehouse, general garage use, company equipment contractors yard, and 11 Wine Gap Road. This was here before for a similar type of approval, only for it fell through with that particular individual, and now another individual is going to essentially do the same thing, is lay down yard that is currently there as a yard for that type of operation. So motion to conditionally approve application BR 2024-010 for combined office, warehouse, general garage uses, company equipment only, at the existing building at 11 Wine Gap Road, and for the use of the existing yard space for storage of contracting trucks and excavating equipment in accordance with Regulation 3390 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025 pertaining to discretionary uses. The development shall be subject to standard conditions for the renovation and occupancy of commercial buildings in the town of Torbay and conditions outlined in an attached background report. Should residential development around the subject property intensify in coming years, council may require the property owner to install privacy screening for the yard at that time. And there shall be no bulk storage of construction-related materials such as sand, gravel, dirt, asphalt at the subject property. So moved.
Second.
Moved in, seconded. Comments?
Quick question, have we done any environmental analysis to understand if there's any negative impacts? Just wanting to, because guaranteed it'll be that question, just want to get some information on that.
Sorry.
Go, you go.
Those types of proposed uses, they're a light industrial use, so they don't require environmental review, but that's why it's specified that there's like no bulk storage of bits of asphalt and that kind of stuff. So it's really dry storage and equipment storage.
Okay.
And then the garage use within the building, that has to follow regular provincial requirements to service and nullify life safety and all that. So it has to run through the general review process for that type of use.
Thank you, Julia.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The second motion refers to a home office, off-site appliance repair at 185 Marine Drive. Motion to conditionally approve application BR 2024-011 for proposed home office use in connection with an off-site appliance repair business at 185 Marine Drive in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025 pertaining to discretionary uses, subject to standard conditions for the operation of home office uses in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next motion refers to 217 Indian Meal Line, the combined industrial warehouse office use, and it's to rezone the area on the corner of Indian Meal Line and the bypass road. Motion to proceed with public consultation process for proposed municipal plan and development regulation amendments, so council may subsequently consider an application for the development of the property at 217 Indian Meal Line for a proposed new building with combined office, warehouse, light fabrication uses, and an exterior storage yard. The proponent shall be responsible for all costs associated with the amendment process, and the proponent shall be made aware that, should the amendment be approved, council cannot guarantee a connection to the town's services for a sprinkler system, and that council may require the screening of any sea cans from view. This will be reviewed at development application stage. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
So this is a rezoning of the area, and when there's a more, when there's an application for actual use to come there, or whatever, whatever that business decides to put there in terms of usage, we look at it then. But we did want to give them a heads up front, and the council rep did ask about the fact that, you know, the sea cans were going to be there. So we did talk about the need to potentially screen that area as well, so that it's not on site once, and if that comes to fruition.
Okay.
I just wanted to note, I spoke with Councillor Pollard when this motion was first to come forward, and asked the question about sea-can use, because there are sea-cans that have been on properties that we have asked to be removed. So just wanted to note that the approved use of sea-cans in this industrial environment is very much different from someone thinking that they can go get a sea-can now and put it on their property without speaking to council, having, that conversation, make sure that that's very clear. I know that we've had that issue in the past with people who have put sea cans on the property thinking that that was permissible. And there are times in many spaces where it has not been, and we've had to go back and speak to residents. So I just want to be very clear about that so that it's understood. And this being different because of its industrial application, the fact that it's come through council, and council is approving this in this instance for that development opportunity. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next is a referral of Portsmouth Cove St. Phillips. Relates to a boundary issue between Portsmouth Cove St. Phillips and Paradise, and it's an associated regional plan amendment is required. Motion to advise the town of Portsmouth Cove St. Phillips that Torbay Town Council reviewed and has no objections to the proposed St. John's Urban Regional Plan Amendment number 6, 2024. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
There's a motion here to accept Torbay permit listings for the year 2024 as tabled. So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And a motion to accept the 2025 permit listings for the week ending January 31st, 2025 as tabled. So moved.
Second.
I'm not sure this should come even here or not, but I noticed that for the approvals in principle, which has probably got nothing to do with the list that you're looking at now. Okay. All right, I'll ask it after this motion.
Okay. Seconded.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Do you have a question, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I got, and I saw it in there, and I probably missed something somewhere along the way, but it's the approval in principle principle dated, the 1st to the 16th of January for a single family dwelling at 15 Cannon Marsh Road, and it says it's for service. So,
Canamarsh would be
what?
unserviced.
Hmm?
That's unserviced.
Well, I.
Or no, maybe it's not. Canamarsh is
It
up on
says service,
Drive,
so
right?
because we had that discussion a while back about the one in Thomas Garden.
Yeah.
That was service, but I wasn't aware that we were looking at anything else for service for Cannon Marsh Road.
Was that, yeah, go ahead, please.
So this particular application is in a similar situation as the Thomas Gardens application in that the services that are there were implemented by a private developer. So based on the motion that had been passed on basically letting those individual infill applications where private developers had put in the pipes, that those can be considered up to the maximum of the 60. So now we're down to a maximum of 2 more, and then we're at the 60.
So when I missed meetings, did that come back for council
No.
No.
to discuss? Because I'm surprised that wouldn't have come back because, and I'm just saying for myself, it's a very sensitive topic. And to know that another one, because I know we were going to look a while back to see how many more were in there, and if that had come back to the committee, so I'm just looking at Councillor Pollard as the chair.
I go back and look at the discussions we had around when that was brought forward, because that was in the discussions at the time, those ones,
Yeah,
and
that particular
and the
one
motion
from
written.
there.
No, the Thomas Garden one brought forward, I remember that, and I'm sure it was reference to the maximum number that we had available left to go to, on the one-offs for those same, similar situations.
I know, but I guess, for me anyways, being involved in getting questions where this is something I didn't know that had been discussed, because I just happened to be going down over everything and noticed that this was for a service. And so I really feel strongly that where we have the motion in there, that at least that should come back for discussion with council. And if nothing else, to give us a heads up, because if somebody happened to call me and say that this, we had another service lot, I'd be one would be saying, no way, we didn't talk about it, but then Rod hadn't been around really since Christmas. And I'm looking over at Councillor Pollard, and anyway, I'm just,
Well,
I guess I'm a little bit taken back that something of that nature would have came through and everyone not aware of it.
I think in order for that application to be approved, it would have to meet all of the town's regulations and the policy with regard to the one that, the one that we
current policy is that
passed.
there's no, there would be any, and the one that we had in Thomas Gardens, that came back for a lot of discussion
Yeah, because
around it.
the policy had to be changed in order for it to be able to go
So
forward.
is that right in the policy now, saying that stipulation of, because all I'm saying, and that night when we said it, there's probably a very small number that we have, so if we keep going the way that we're going, we could potentially, and I'm playing devil's advocate, because anything that can go wrong with the servicing and the water issues is probably going to happen. But if we keep going and we know that there's probably, could be another 10 out there that we don't know, but then we won't have the 10 to be able to accommodate it. And that was a heavy discussion that we had about Thomas Gardens and legal, and we were back and forth, and yet I'm just surprised that this one got put through, that, not the fact that I wasn't included in discussion, but the bigger council has been included in it, that's all. I am surprised that it's happened and that the chair of planning and development is not aware of it.
We'll review that and bring that back,
So
see
Well,
what,
that's
see what it
approved
is.
now, this
Okay.
one,
Thank you.
can I speak to that, please?
where it's already approved is what I'm concerned in principle. So how can you bring it back? And I mean, we're getting all of these reports, and I'm just wondering how closely everybody's looking at them. So,
Can I speak to that, please? When I read the package, my understanding, when I read that as serviced, was one of the ones that when council passed that motion for the case-by-case policy, my understanding at that time, when I questioned it and voted against it, was there were certain amount of people on the list who had been paying for their water tax, and they did have an allocation that was associated with them that were in those numbers. There were somewhere to the tune of 7 that were available at that time, and with that one gone, there have been 6 remaining. Now the director is telling us there are 2. So my question, first one, is where'd the other 4 go? The other question I have is, to Deputy Mayor's point, if the case is that this is not one of those service lots that was in that approved list, and it is one of the ones that's per the case-by-case policy that council has approved, I was not aware of that before I took the vote. So to the Deputy Mayor's point, I think we need to consider rescinding the motion for the approvals and take that one out, let committee go back and look at it, and then come back with that recommendation, because the Deputy Mayor is correct. There have been legal implications. There have been a lot of issues going on around what's happening with the water. And my understanding when I read the package was that that was an approved service lot that was coming through, not a new one that was to be considered for approval in addition to the ones that already had been considered at that time. So there is an option within this meeting to request that that motion be rescinded or amended, or that can be rescinded and then amended and then repositioned. But I think we need to make sure we get that right, because when I voted for that motion, that was not my understanding. And to the Deputy Mayor's point, I think it's a very important discussion to make sure that if allocations that have been noted as being available to be presented for discussion for people. The last we talked about this in the public chamber, to my knowledge, there were 6 allocations that were there. Now there are 2 according to the director, and I'm sitting here going, I'm not sure. So to the Deputy Mayor's point, if someone calls me and says, Trina, what's happening? We need to know. And I think it's really important that we have a running number in here so that the public is aware how many of those allocations are left for a case-by-case conversation, because this, it very well may have been a conversation at committee, but again, back to my conversation about having the Zoom ability to go in and listen and learn, or go back and see what was that conversation. You know, we need to really make sure that we're doing this right. And I have a concern, I shared Deputy Mayor's concern in this space. So I would ask that if that is the case, and this is new information that I didn't have before the vote, that maybe council entertains rescinding that motion and bringing a new one forward without that if that information is new to council.
All right, let me understand what it's saying. Julia, go ahead.
I just want to, so from a staff perspective, there was a clarification to the original freeze motion, which clarified that those who were private developers had implemented the private service, like the public services, but put in by private developers, that those can apply. And I can certainly provide the list. There were 3 other files that just in around the same time had applied, and they had been issued a approval in principle for a semi-service situation. So based on that clarification motion, those files had been issued an approval in principle for a service situation. So we can provide you with a list. From a staff perspective, we enact the policy. It was not clear to me that each individual file should come back forward. It was my understanding that we basically follow the policy. So right now, I just want to say those approvals in principle have been issued, and we can only, I'm assuming you're talking about the motion to rescind the acceptance of the permit listing, but these approval in principles have been issued, and we can, if they were issued in error, we can rescind them. But I would caution that we rescind any of them right now. Like, I think we can bring that update back to the planning committee and provide you also, and I can email the files that an approval in principle has been issued for service development. In summary, right now, there's 2 extra allocations left, and then we're at the 60. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any other comment?
Can I,
No.
so I can get clarification on what I'm hearing from Julie?
Well, I mean, she just clarified.
I just want to make sure what I'm hearing is, like, I just picked up on one on Cannon Marsh Road. That was my question, right? But what I'm hearing then is that there's 2 more that had happened prior to this one that went for service lots. That, is there 2 more besides this one?
So there was Thomas Gardens,
Yes, that
and then there's 3 more, plus this one, right?
I'm not aware, anyway, I just wanted to
Yeah.
know that I'm not aware of any of this.
Okay. All right.
Committee wasn't either. Committee wasn't either. I wasn't
Okay.
aware.
So,
So
All
my
right.
question about the last motion that we passed.
well, we're not going to talk no more about it now. You already had your opportunity. What I will say is that committee agreed to
Mayor, I'm
take-
not speaking to this as a
This is-
discussion point. I'm asking about a motion.
There's a
If
motion.
It should be rescinded during the meeting as per our.
I know, but you already asked, you spoke to it already once.
It wasn't, I wasn't advised if the ability to bring that forward was possible or not. I'm asking that question about doing the business.
From staff perspective, the motion reads that they can be approved by case-by-case basis up to the maximum recommended number of allocations for existing water allocation policy. And that's the motion that appears that the staff went on to approve those ones. Because it's exactly the same situation as was in Thomas Gardens. Actually, it's a little different really, because they were, your approval for, I think Cannon Marsh Road was one that had the prior approval for semi-service for a well on a service lot, if I'm not mistaken. Right, but the motion, we definitely discussed it, and Councillor Epley, you voted against it anyway, I do believe,
I did, and I would
Right,
vote
so-
against this last motion too, had I have understood that's what it was.
the last motion.
But this is not a motion. This is a application that
motion there.
was granted based on the current regulations and the current policy.
Oh,
That
okay.
does not require it to
Sorry.
come back.
I apologize, I'm confused. I know,
All right?
I get what you're saying now. All
Okay,
right,
all
my
right.
apologies.
And-
I was thinking the
No
permit
worries.
listing,
Yeah.
that's the motion I was at, and yeah, my apologies. That's my mistake. I
Fair
apologize.
enough. No problem. Okay, good?
Well, no, I'm
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
I guess
I'm
all
just
of-
saying, I'm just reading it, and the town will consider applications for single dwellings on these types of lots on a case-by-case basis up to the maximum number recommended allocations as per existing water allocation
Right.
policy. And that's what we all voted on.
So I guess all I wanted to make clear was that these ones and the other 3 or whatever it is that staff followed the development regulations and current policy of the town that was adopted to deal with these specific ones in order to issue those approval in principles. Anything else?
Back to motion for the January 15 minutes.
Right, that's what I thought. We had a motion on the table.
Well,
Okay.
there was a motion on the table, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was the permit listings was the motion on the table.
We voted that. She
We voted
she
that,
asked
okay,
after
so-
the motion.
Oh, so there's not a motion on the table now, huh?
Yeah.
You gotta go back to the 15,
All right, okay. Why we gotta go back to the 15 for?
because that's where the motion is, in the notes of 15.
Oh, okay.
It relates to bylaw enforcement, and under the legislation, we've got to do a motion to appoint the town's development control officers.
Okay.
So motion as per section 278(1) of the new Towns and Local Service Districts Act, the town of Torbay hereby appoints the town's development control officer and the town's municipal enforcement officers as bylaw enforcement officers for the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's just basically the same duties, only it's under a different umbrella.
It just has to be called a different name, that's all, yeah. It's just a legislative requirement.
Yeah.
Very straightforward.
So there's nothing else in there?
That's
Councilor
it,
Pollard?
Worship. That's it for, yeah, that's it for planning and development.
All right, thank you. Sorry, we got into a bit of confusion there. Administration and Human Resources, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, we had a meeting on January 14th. It's all basically, a lot of what was in there before, the recruitment, immigration settlement, coordinator position, that closed on the 17th. The other items, we point out where they want for the goals and objectives for the CAO. And there was a deadline, so I understand that we only had one feedback back from one councillor. So that's all finalized. So everything that people had seen, unless there was something drastic in there from that one councillor, but I think there wasn't, as my understanding, Mark. It was all good. There's nothing else in there. That bi-weekly payroll leave approval of the nation system, that's ongoing. Is there anybody got any questions that they see in there for the minutes that were on the 14th? All right, that I'll go to the ones for the 18th or the 28th. And that's pretty much the same thing as what I had just said. The only extra one that we've got in there that I want to mention is that since then, our history house and museum manager started a new position with the provincial government today. And once again, I'd just like to thank him, Noah, for his hard work, dedication that he put into the town of Torbay, the history house, in that sense. He started working with us, and that he's going to be missed. Whoever comes in to fill the position, they got big steps to fill. It's amazing the work that they do up there with the only a couple of staff and the volunteers. And anybody that hasn't been there, you get a different sense of walking in that building than you do anywhere else around the town. So it's a credit to the volunteers and staff. Needless to say that the position, his position is now up, or if not, it's going up shortly, my understanding, Mark?
Yes, this week.
And it's going up this week, so, and that's basically it.
Okay.
Nothing new and exciting.
You got a motion
Just a
there
motion
for the
there.
adopt the rules of
Just
procedure,
adopt the
right?
rules of procedure?
Oh,
Yeah. That's the ones that were circulated.
I know, I saw them, I read it, but, oh, I didn't, yeah. Yes, I can't find it. And I just went into rules of procedure,
No, it's not in there. It's down below in motions.
Just below.
down here at the end of this one. Yeah, I just went into this one. There's rules of procedure right there, right? I thought that was it, with the motions. 7.3. Can you bring it up?
Okay, she doesn't have it, I have it.
I had it, because I read it from Okay, resolution that the town of Torbay, pursuant to 7(1)A and section 46 of the Town and Local Rules Act, the rules of procedure bylaw are required to be adopted. These provide guidelines to follow for order and structure in all town meetings. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Question.
Thank you.
I'm reading the rules of procedures around privilege meetings, and I did ask this question a while back, and the conversation was, it's not just legal and HR that we talk about in a privilege meeting at this point, that the legislation has been changed to
Section 41.
to open that up. And I was looking at the legislation though, and I don't see in here what else it is that we can have, Sandy, that's in that space. I think it's important to have that noted just for the public, to make sure that it's very clear and what it is that will be considered for that.
Yeah, section 41 is
Yeah.
the section that involves. So the way that the rules of procedure are worded, the way I put that in there is to say that any privileged meeting will be done in accordance with the legislation, so that binds us to section 41.
So what is it in section 41 though, that will give that criteria?
There's several of them. There's a full 2 pages, a page and a half. Do you want me to read that out? Or?
No, I just wanted to make sure that if I'm asked the question,
Yeah, well,
what is it that we're discussing in a privileged situation?
any information that's protected by law, any personal information, any legal type of information, anything that would adversely affect our relationship with the federal government, anything that would affect intergovernment relations, there's a whole series of them.
Okay.
So it's all listed in section 41.
Perfect, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's all
the
in public
only-
record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only question that I have.
Yeah, it's all, yeah, it's in. So there's a few extra things than what was in the old legislation.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Corporate Services, Counselor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is going to be one of these combined minutes again for the invoices over $5,000 once we get to that. I'm not going to go down through all the individuals. For each meeting, there is a listing of the payroll for the periods, and the accounts payable report is there as well as our check registers. On the Section E on the January 16th meeting, the John Deere loader financing. There's a bunch of copies of the amounts we got from various banks and financial institutions there for relating to the purchase or the financing rather, 25 John Deere loader. So the committee recommends awarding financing in the amount of $527,246.03 for the purchase of a 2025 John Deere 624P wheeler loader to RBC Bank for a 3-year term and 7-year amortization at the rate of 3.92% with a monthly payment of $7,187.88. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next is a donation request for the under-18 curling team traveling to the Nationals in February. In accordance with the town's donation policy, the committee recommends a donation of $100. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Next one's a donation request from a resident for a model and talent convention in Toronto, and they're looking for support that might be available to help offset costs of travel. So in accordance with town's donation policy, the committee recommends a donation of $100. So moved.
I may be in conflict with that one.
Okay.
No name
Counsel,
attached.
just before we go forward, Counselor Tapper's in a conflict. This is your granddaughter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, seconded? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Donation request for under 15 Northeast Eagles minor. In relation to that, if you go to our second set of meetings, you'll see that there's a conversation ongoing between ourselves and Northeast minor in terms of how we service the number of requests we get from the number of multiple teams. So we will bring that back to the table at some point in the future once we come out to what we figure is the a one-time donation to Northeast Eagles and how that gets distributed. We did have a response back, and the response back from Northeast was for the benefit of all, and we kind of say, no, it's not necessarily for the benefit of all, it's for the benefit of Torbay residents, so we want to find some way that they can, or we can make sure that it gets where the intended money needs to go.
Okay.
So that'll be coming back.
That's good.
The next motion is a motion, So the following invoices totaling $447,755.64 are presented for approval. Brent Tractor Limited for loader rental in the amount of $12,650. Eric Taylor Limited for payment on the Torbay Road Sidewalks project in the amount of $60,705.86. First Call Electrical and Contracting Limited for town office renovation in the amount of $54,500. Firewise Consulting Limited for consulting fees for the fire service study that we're doing, $22,050. GFL Environmental, December garbage, $64,181.89. Harvey's Oil Limited for diesel in the amount of $7,554.44. Island Pro Electrical Inc. for work in the common, for the common storage shed in the amount of $8,229.14. Municipal Assessment Agency first quarter assessments in the amount of $25,831. Municipalities Newfoundland, memberships for PMA and MNL in the amount of $11,917.09. Newfoundland Power Street Lighting in the amount of $19,742.40. Petro Service Limited for the fuel system upgrade in the amount of $5,118.65. TKD Solutions Inc. to supply a gate for the depot in the amount of $8,625. Town Suite Municipal Software Inc., the annual subscription in the amount of $54,023.39. Town Suite Municipal Software Inc. are consulting fees in relation to some of the work we're doing under for planning development and the recreation, in the amount of $5,175. Wildwood Enterprises Limited for the New Year's fire display in the amount of $10,000. Canada Life January group payments in the amount of $21,500.11. And January 1st to the 15th, Receiver General for payroll deductions for 1st to the 15th, $52,951.67. And as I said, all for a total of $447,755.64. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Before we do that, is there a conflict for you with M&L, where there's payment in that, are you sure?
That was already been done, though.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I remember having asked that question when I was at table.
So, to that point, and just to be clear, the reason you're asking is because of Canoe, right?
No, it was because the payment goes to.
Oh, that's a, of the common,
Yeah,
your
okay, no, I just wanted to be sure, that's all, I was just trying to look good for you. That's all,
Very
I
interesting
remember
comment.
those days when I sat there. All right, all good.
No, all good there, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, any other questions? All in favor? Aye, opposed, carried.
So ends our report, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir.
Can I just add, it just brought it to my attention when I see street lighting, and I guess, Brian, this is something I'm wondering, if we could get a communication or something put out to residents. There's a lot of street lights that are not working, that are gone out throughout the town. And I know that it's something that there's a form in there, you can go in to fill it out. Maybe if we could get Cameron put out a communication to the residents and get them to send out that form and ask them to fill it out, because there are a lot that are not working.
Sure, yeah. So actually, Light and Power's got a new website, or Newfoundland Power, sorry. It's got a new website now, and you can just go on and actually select the icon where the light is due, so you locate it on the map. When you click that, then you indicate if it's out or blinking or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very easy to
Residents
use.
knew that.
Yeah,
It'd be good for them to.
For sure, yeah.
follow with what they
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Good
Yeah, we
point,
can-
because
we can
gotta
provide the
pay
link.
for them every month, even if
Yes.
they're not on.
On or off, we pay for them, yeah.
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 Okay,
Thanks, Brian.
any other comments or questions? All right, thank you very much. Economic Development, Tourism, History and Culture, Councillor Tepper.
Okay, we got a report there from January 13th. As we had dealt with a few minutes ago, the History House basement at work now will go ahead. Regional Transportation Initiative. So there's drafting of an RFP to secure the services of a consultant to conduct a feasibility study. And the Killie Coast Transportation Group held initial meeting to discuss next steps. And this is a very important initiative that some residents have contacted us. And we've been working on regional transportation. It seems to be forever, but we're finally getting somewhere, and Director Carey is looking to get some funding to get this started, and hopefully we'll finally get something on the road for it. Immigration Settlement Coordinator. The competition closed January 17th. There's plenty of interest, and we're hoping to conduct interviews and hire by the end of January, early February. So yes, the CBC also picked up on this initiative, and I believe the Mayor, you were interviewed, which was great, get some publicity on this. Website design process will be starting in the next couple of weeks. The History House, I just wanted to mention from the top, and some people have mentioned it just a few minutes ago, we've lost our manager, Noah, and we had a farewell party for him a few days ago, which was very well attended. The History House was full, and a lot of people, volunteer staff, were there, and he got a great send-off. So all our best to Noah in his new job. So other than that, I believe that's it for my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you, sir. Infrastructure and Public Works, Councilor Appleby.
I wasn't actually at that meeting that morning, Mayor.
Okay, Councilor
Councilor
Pollard?
Pollard and Councilor Goss participated in those meetings, and Councilor Goss participated in 2 meetings that day for me, because I dropped a 25-pound plate on my foot, and I had a doctor's appointment, and then I had to go get it x-rayed. So a thank you to Councilor Pollard and Councilor Goss for doing that. With that said, I'll hand it over to Councilor Pollard because I wasn't there for that meeting.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Pollard.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Gee, thanks. Actually, there's no motions in there, so if anyone just wants to take a run down through it and if there's any questions, feel free. I think that's the easiest way to handle this one at the present time. I mean, the Public Works is in pretty much winter mode, you know, and everything else from a outside view is taking a back seat, with the exception of the moving forward with the water treatment plant project, and this moving to an RFP stage, and we're just waiting on a more specific timeline.
Good. Anybody get any questions?
I was just going to ask what's happening with the volunteer fire department, the safety lights. I know the fall they were supposed to happen, and talking about the damaged pole out there, but there's...
Yep, I can speak to that.
Brian
if
can
you
give you an
want.
update on that one.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick update on that.
Yeah.
So,
We talked about that the other day.
as you know, it was the light stand base, was damaged. So we're going through our insurance to get that straightened away. Finally got that all straightened away just last week, actually. So anybody dealing with insurance, I know it's painful at times. So first thing spring, that new pole base is put in, and then the lights will go around afterwards. So the contractor actually came down to have a look at it to put the poles in place, and they realized that it was damaged, and I already knew anyway. But so instead of getting them to put so many up and then come back and pay them twice, we delayed putting any of them up.
Okay, so nothing will happen to that until the spring?
Till the spring, yeah.
obviously now.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, Recreation, Community Services, Councilor Manning.
This is from our meeting on January 15th. It was a good meeting. It's all there. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask, because we don't have any motions in here right now. But if there's any questions anyone has, please feel free to ask.
Any questions?
Okay.
Go ahead.
The event or registration process, including waitlist man, and I don't know what you're planning on doing, but, I guess just to bring it forward, I noticed that some of the towns, and in particular LNO, anything that the town subsidizes, that we're looking at giving it a very low cost to the individuals. They have it, basically, they come out and they say for LNO residents only. Is that something that you're considering?
Yeah, that's number one there,
Yeah.
program and events.
Yeah.
And Ward sat in on this meeting for us because Trina couldn't attend. And we had a good discussion on that. And yeah, that is what we're looking at, is open to Torbay residents only, and, you know, no wait list or anything. Now, Director can speak to it a little bit more, but as it says in there now, that Director is going to discuss with staff and implement changes. My understanding was that previous to this, that once it was open to Torbay residents, then it had automatically been opened up a week later or so to, if there were any seats available, to outside. But like I said, that's the discussion we had, to make those changes and have it only for Torbay residents only, whether there's seats available or not, just shut it down, and that's it. And no wait lists or anything like that, because that just gets into...
Normally at the Christmas one that they have for seniors is normally the one that, that is an issue, because you get it's a good meal, the entertainment and what have you is always good, and no matter what, but people look at it, if we're subsidizing it, that's the big thing there. I just
Totally.
wanted to Make
Yeah.
sure that that's the case.
Yeah, and, but other years, was that opened up other years too?
It sold out really quick. It was only last year, I think, that we increased it and we put that number of tickets up front. Because usually the first day or so, it sold out anyway, so it never got that far. The other question that I got here is the age-friendly assessment. And it's good to see the questionnaire and everything that's in there. But is that going to be hard copies sent out to residents, or what way is that going to be done?
There'll be hard copies available at different facilities, and it'll be on social media through Cameron as well. So it'll be available, and we're going to meet with some of the groups as well and give them copies, give them opportunity to provide feedback.
That's what I was going to ask, like all those groups that are going down to the common even to have whoever's there on the front desk as they're going in, there's a hard copy, and to give it, because put that out on social media would be defeating, I think, the whole purpose of it. All right, thanks.
Yeah, we're gonna do both.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So ends mine.
Just on that event thing, you know, and it just struck me now, where we're saying about, we're talking about inclusivity and you know, regionalization and how we're, you know, our own brothers or sisters keepers, whatever it is. From the event side of things, how often do we run into a situation where a senior, and I understand the subsidization thing, has a friend who is outside Torbay and wants to go to that event with their friend, and they got some restriction put on it because they can't do it now because they're not a resident of Torbay. Do we have allowances for that in there as well? I know it makes it a little more two-tiered and a little more difficult, but, and how often it comes, because, you know, I don't know the full issue around the attendance and how we control all that, but certainly, you know, there are lots of people who do have other friends outside Torbay that would like to avail of it as well.
Never, I know in the past, it's never been an age situation either, right?
Go ahead.
That, you know, you've got lots of people who are senior and their partner could be 10 years younger. You're not going to say that they're waiting for their spouse or whatever, can't go with them. And I think that's where all of these policies and all of this stuff that we have, a little bit of common sense has to go into it. And what people keep telling me, common sense is not that common anymore, because nothing can be black and white. So that's the exact same thing where people are living in another community. Well, you know,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
something that you
listen.
got to be able to look at. But I mean, when it comes to a group of 5 or 6 people coming from another community, then you gotta look at that and say, well, you know, there's something wrong with that picture as well, right? To be able to get them out the tickets, so.
Can I speak to
I think
this?
we're going down a good road now.
As a member of the committee, I wasn't at that meeting, like I said, I was getting x-rays at the time and Ward stepped in for me, but a couple of points here. When I was on the Recreation Committee when this policy first came in, and what we did, Tina Alconick was working with us at that time, and we set this up so that Torbay residents got first access to all of our programming, and then what was left over was open for other parts of the region to come in. And to Councillor Pollard's point, you know, if we're talking about regional cooperation and working together as a region, it's really hard to say, yeah, let's come together and have a talk about regionalization, but you can't come to our event because we're not going to let you in. That, you can't send mixed messages that way. It's not just age. If your partner, lots of people, they're widowed or whatnot, they may have a partner who's living in Flat Rock. So you mean tell me that I can go to the Christmas party but they can't come? That doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, the conversation around the wait list for the Christmas party, to the point, that sells out. Those in-demand events sell out very quickly, which means people from other communities aren't getting those opportunities to be able to go in and get access to that, because at that point, they're only available to people in Torbay. In fact, what's been happening is, in some instances, people who don't live in Torbay have been using family that they have in Torbay to go get those tickets for them, so they can actually do it through the e-services app, and that's been a conversation. There's also the conversation about the work that we've been doing around tracking our finances and understanding how many people from Torbay are coming, how many people from outside are participating, what are we doing? Our recreation development, our new staff have been looking at what services and programs have we offered. They've tried new ones. They're looking at, you know, if we don't do this, if we do that, what does that look like, to make sure that we're feeding the need of what the community wants, and we're making sure that we're offering, you know, a lot of different things. So tracking that to understand for budgeting next year for David's planning through the commerce side, he can then look at it and go, okay, well, how many signed up through e-commerce? How many are from here? How many are from there? How do we roll? So this is going to be an ongoing conversation, policy development, and how do we roll this out so that staff have the direction of how they figure that out. But I think it's really important to think about how we're doing this. The waitlist discussion has been, we opened up e-services. We said there's 500 tickets to this event. Once you hit 501, there's a wait list. 502, 503. The reason the wait list was put in place was for the person who actually got online, waited, and got that 501, that they could get the access to tickets that they had waited for, the second and the third. That's where that conversation came in. If there's a problem with wait lists and not having enough capacity for a very popular event, that's where we as council could come back and look at it and go, you know what? The seniors dinner was huge. And one of the actions that we took was we went, okay, well, we're going to add extra seats, as the deputy mayor referred to, so that we would have greater capacity. But if that's the case, and we're not able to meet that need for people in the community, then that's a conversation where we can come back to committee and we can ask the director and her team to look at what do we plan for next year? How do we make it bigger? How do we make it better? How do we make it more inclusive? That's absolutely a conversation we can have. So there's many facets to this conversation. I think it's more than just, this is our event, we're subsidizing, you can't come. I think we need to be really clear about being inclusive, building those relationships, working in that regional space, and understanding the dynamics that people in our community are living with to make sure that we can support good programs and services for our people. Thank you.
I agree. Agreed.
Can I just, and I just want to finish off saying.
Yeah, could I just say one
Yep,
thing first?
sorry.
though?
Yep.
Is that I agree with you totally, but to Councilor Pollard's point, I don't want us to be putting off programs where we got 30 available spaces and now we got 20 and 10 are empty. If we are subsidizing the event, like whatever it is, and we allow Torbay residents to get in early to get tickets, maybe we give it to them at that subsidized price, and then when we open it up to the public, we open it up at a cost recovery. So that we're not, people from outside our town can still go, but it costs them a little more.
And that was the point I wanted to put out there too, is that this is an ongoing discussion at committee with the director and staff. And this is not that it's new discussion, but it's on upfront and priority discussion right now at this time to go forward. As Councillor Appleby said, you know, the staff over there, there's some newer staff and they're working their way through different ideas, their thoughts and processes along with the director. And as I said, it's an ongoing thing and it's a priority and it's what's been looked at. Everything that's mentioned here has been talked around the table, and within a short period of time to make final suggestions or decisions, whatever you want to use as the wording there.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Liaison committees, Lang Mayor's Congress, no update. Intergovernmental affairs, I guess we kind of had an update earlier when we talked about the water application stuff. Jack Byrne, do we have any update from there?
Yes, Your Worship. We did meet, we had our meeting last week. This week, the results of the year weren't as good as we had anticipated them to be. Now we haven't got the final auditor statements or anything. They will be out, I suppose, March, April, somewhere around there, whenever. So we had originally projected somewhere in the area of $30,000 to the bottom line. Looks like we're going to be around more like 3,000 now. The good news is, I guess we still broke even. The building is getting older, and I mentioned it on numerous occasions, as is the infrastructure in Torbay. Sorry, I'll go back to that again. So, you know, it looks like that there's a longer-term plan needed, which we're starting to work on now in terms of finding out what we need to replace when. So we did run into some additional expenditures in terms of the HVAC and the ice machines and things of that nature, so they needed much more maintenance than we had originally anticipated. So that reduced our profit to somewhere in the area of $3,000 or so. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to operate and turn that profit and especially put money away for future. So the arena will probably come back to the towns in terms of a budget item for 2026. Overall, from, you know, we really need to find out what council's and the town's perspective is on the entertainment center itself. And, you know, maybe we gotta change focus for the entertainment center as well, to do more entertainment rather than ice, and that's gonna be another upheaval, but, you know, that's just initial discussions anyway. But anyway, I guess the report is that we did a little worse, I guess, by virtue of having increased repairs and maintenance this year. We are in the process of reviewing the 2025 budget again, because we were projecting somewhere in the area of the same amount, $30,000. But I asked that they go back and redo the figures, because I suspect that there are some more maintenance issues that need to come up. I mean, the pond out back, and I meant to speak to Chief about this too, is decommissioned at the present time. That was a dry hydrant to a pond that was there for obviously fire suppression, which is not operable at the present time for, I don't know what reason. I don't know if the river has been diverted differently or whatever. And as well, the well itself is going to need some upgrades as well somewhere along the way. So we'll take that under advisement and see what we come back with. But expect for 2026 year that there is something coming back. A question as to how towns view the regional entertainment center, I guess, and what their commitment to it is on an ongoing basis.
Building
So I
is
guess
about
that's it.
15 years old now, right? 15, 16
20 years old, wasn't it?
I thought it opened in 2010.
Maybe.
Could be right. But anyway, thank you.
I was getting there. I mean, the things wear out, and you know, a lot of activity goes on in that building, and there's a lot of misuse as well, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just ask the question, what do you mean by misuse? What's that comment? No, I mean, that,
You know,
let's clarify that.
Keys breaking off, you know, people shooting pucks around, volleyballs denting walls and things of that nature. So, I mean, you know, you just end up speaking to folks, the users, and hold them responsible where you can find out who did it. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so mischief.
Kind of vandalism type mischief
Okay.
stuff, yeah.
Just a point on that, if I could. The Jack Byrne may be aging, as is right now, and the infrastructure planning, and Councillor Pollard has been talking about that for the last 7+ years, and the importance of planning for that. But I'm curious to understand how that would work, because the organization that is running the Jack Byrne are there to run the organization. But the communities themselves are the ones that are responsible for the building, the infrastructure, the planning. So is this something, maybe, Mayor, that you can take to the joint ownership of the other municipalities and have the conversation about planning and where to from here, because not only infrastructure funds, they're gonna have to be put away by the owners to look at what that is per, our obligations with that facility. There's also the conversation I hear from Councillor Pollard about how the facility is being used. So if we're talking about taking away ice time and having more events there, there's absolutely going to be a public backlash and impact for that. And I will tell you, ice time is at a premium. The number of families that are serviced per ice time, per event, how that rolls. I mean, the history, in my recollection for the 4 years that I served out there, we had events, many of them, that did not go well. And there was $400,000 worth of HST that was out there, which was drawn against to ensure that that's what kept the building in the black, which was spent over the 10 years, as I understand. So I think that there needs to be an analysis of what are those infrastructure needs, what does that look like, what use of that facility it's going to be, and how that's going to roll. Make sure there's sufficient public conversation and consultation about what that looks like, because the taxpayers who are putting their money into making sure that's operational and asking us to do that have the right to be consulted, have a conversation, and we need to plan. But it's not just one municipality. I don't see it as being the board that's governing how it's run at this point, but I really do think that we, as the key stakeholder with the greatest financial risk, should be leading that conversation with the other 4 owners to see what that looks like, and maybe create that as part of a standing committee that we continue to start working towards. Because if 2026 is what we're looking at for a budget discussion around this, we need to start planning now.
Well,
Thank you.
to your point, and I agree, and Councillor Pollard noted that they're looking at it now and figure out what they're gonna have to bring forward for a budget thing, and also how the councils want that facility to run. If we want more, for whatever reasons, yes, we can bring that forward, but our group is not out there operating it every day, so we don't know. We need them to come to us, tell us these are the infrastructure needs. Then we can sit down with our cohorts and have that conversation, to your point, and figure out where to go from there.
One thing on all this, do not quote me on saying that there's gonna be less ice time, please.
No.
I threw it out as a
Right.
consideration.
Right. So,
But if
anyway, we'll
there needs to be,
we'll figure it out.
Oh, I know, that's what I said.
Alrighty, Noise Savillon Joint Council, Deputy Mayor. No update?
Next Wednesday's the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Sudbury, no update. Thornbury Volunteer Fire Department,
RNC.
there's minutes, yeah, RNC,
And-
want to get an update?
Well, just I
We
met
ha-
with the RNC recently, and we're going to be meeting on a quarterly basis. So I sent an email out to everyone in that regard.
They were going to have, when we were, I don't know whether that's the Jen or not, because she had a meeting with the RNC, when we were there before Christmas, but we wanted to have a meeting.
They're not gonna have,
No, they won't have public meeting.
She said though, if it had to do with specific training, she was gonna follow up with God knows where. And we just talked about new legislation where you could drive so far, and that they would come down and give that to whoever would come and do it, right? If it was a particular topic is what she told us that day when she met with us.
okay.
That, because that was something we have been saying since last year this time, that we wanted to have, and, to do it, so I can bring it up again on Wednesday night, what she had mentioned about it, because, Sergeant, what's his name, is always at Snowball, at the, joint council meetings.
Well, if you're looking at doing something through community services,
Yeah, we
That's-
do
that's
have,
different.
we do have a
That's
couple of public sessions coming up in the spring later on, as part of our Safe Action Community Plan we're doing, so I'm working with Sergeant Cunningham on that. Um,
That we talked about it at that time, when they come
Yeah.
how far they don't travel, and the necessity of having the helmets and the.
There's going to be different topics. They're not set yet, but that's what staff and Julie are working on now. There's also, I think, a constable, Fitzgerald, who's also going to be involved in it. So that'll be coming up in the spring guide. At least one of them I know will be in the spring guide, so it'll be open to the public. And there's going to be different age groups. Some are going to be for seniors, some are going to be for all ages, some are going to be for youth. So that'll be through our department.
Touch base then whether
Perfect.
That was a separate one when we met and had a joint meeting that day. She was going to have for everybody, right, in the school, high school. Anyway.
Sorry, we're still on the fire department?
We're just getting out of there now.
We're-
Fire department.
We just, we were that close to it.
There's a bylaw adoption here
Yes,
too.
it is.
But
Yeah.
just before that goes, can we get an update on what we're doing with the bunker gear and that for the fire department? The city of St. John's
Yes.
are turning theirs over from
Chief's here.
PFAS perspective. Are we doing something similar here for our volunteer firefighters?
Do we know what our need is, Rodney?
Yes, my plan for this year was to purchase PFAS-free bunker gear and just replace those that are due to be expired this year, not replace the entire 40-some sets of bunker gear, because the budget is not there for that. So just replace the ones that we would normally be replacing, except replace with PFAS-free bunker gear. So I'm currently looking at what options are available. There's one, maybe two options of manufacturers that are making PFAS-free bunker gear. So if the council wants to approve 40-some sets of bunker gear, I'll be happy to
Put in the order.
put a motion forward.
Yeah.
All right, so the plan is to replace them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
as
gonna-
well as the foam that's in the fire trucks. As we know, the fire foam has in the past had PFAS in it. There is new stuff now that's available. So there's actually 12 jugs of it sitting there in the annex, ready to replace all of our trucks whenever the trucks are depleted of the current stuff right now. So
Okay, so,
we'll be PFAS free
all right,
foam in the near future, and hopefully PFAS free of the bunker gear in due time.
okay. So now that we asked you about it, can you, just come up with like a plan to replace them all with a timeline and what the cost would be, and then we can probably take it and look at it and see if there's any funding available that we can get to kind of expedite that,
Sounds good.
if you don't mind?
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, back to you, Councillor Manning.
So we're on the fire department.
Yeah.
Because I want to start out by saying, sorry, chief, long night. Anyway, the minutes are there for January 13th, but the thing that we're focused on, more importantly, is a motion that's coming forward concerning the fire department operating bylaws. So I'll read the resolution here. Resolved that the town of Torbay, in accordance with 7 of the Towns and Local Service Districts Act, adopt a mandatory Torbay Volunteer Fire Department operating bylaw, whereas Section 163 of the Towns and Local Service Districts Act provides that a town council may establish, operate, and maintain a fire department. This bylaw provides the town with the authority to operate and maintain our volunteer fire department and provide responsibilities and authority of our fire department. This bylaw also dictates the core services that our fire department provides and gives guidance for mutual and aid and response outside of our current fire district. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? I would just make a note to, the reason it's bylaw now is because in the new local service, towns and local service district, everything is bylaws. Before this might have been a regulation, which is why our rules of procedure now is a bylaw, and as we go forward, anything new or that we update,
More, in the next few weeks, there's more.
there's gonna be more coming to change the bylaws, just so, because I think it's probably new terminology that residents might be hearing, but that's basically what it is.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And unless there's any other questions, and I'm so glad the chief is here, I'll finish up my section.
All right, thank you. Urban Municipalities Committee, so UMC will be meeting in March, right? Is that in March?
Late March, March 28th and
Yeah,
29th. or something, Marystown.
in the town of Marystown, and it's gonna have I think it's something to do with economic development on this one. And I don't know, I think, Mary, you're still the UMC rep, right?
Yeah, I sent you a message today on that.
All right, so we'll see if you're gonna go. If not, maybe Ralph go. Okay.
Up to you.
Jeez, Buzz, how many times is that motion there for the fire department? You didn't want me to miss it, that's for sure.
Only reading it once.
All right, notice the motion, we have done. New business, let me see what I wrote down here. Okay, everybody passed today?
Yeah, except Councillor.
Okay, all right, pass. Councillor Appleby.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to Catherine for the work that she does for the Northeast Avalon Times. It's really important to have someone here locally coming to all of our meetings and participating in the way she does. So thank you to Catherine for that. A thank you to Robbie as well, from me to you. Well-deserved recognition here tonight. Robbie has been a wealth of information on environmental issues, all kinds of issues, and you've always been amazing. Someone that I could call who has been coming to the meetings for all these years, understanding the background and context. I'm not originally from Torbay, but there are people in Torbay who've been lovely, amazing, and welcoming, and have just shared information, knowledge with me. So thank you. Very, very well-deserved recognition to you tonight. And thank you. They were talking about when Ward and Rhonda were newbies, when I was a newbie, and ever since, you've been amazing. So thank you to you. I also wanted to thank M&L for the condolences that were sent and shared for Ward. I called Amy myself and personally thanked her. I'd like to thank you too as a board member. I think that was very important. And also to the people who've been bringing food to the food pantry. There have been a lot of notes in the Torbay Facebook groups about people dropping it off. And we dropped off some food there a while back, and my daughter was bringing it out and spoke to the lady who was there. And she had said that she was unemployed, lost her job, going from pantry to pantry, trying to find enough food to have something to eat. So just a big thank you to the community residents who've been and continue to support that. The last item I wanted to touch on was kindness. We have an awful lot of things that are happening right now. There's an awful lot of unsettling times happening for an awful lot of people. And as I read communications on Facebook and I watch the stuff that's happening in the news, I just wanted to touch on the fact that, you know, a lot of people are feeling a lot of these issues in fear. And I see some of the comments that are being made that aren't so kind or judging someone else or another for their opinion. We live in Canada. You know, these are tough times, and I will tell you as a Canadian, I'm so proud to watch my fellow Canadians stand up and rally behind our flag and behind our country and be proud of who we are. But I also see comments about not being so kind and not respecting others' right to have different opinions. So just asking for people to pause before they have a heated response. You know, check yourself, check in with yourself. Try to be kind in a difficult time. It's not easy, not for many, but that's what we're here for. We're here as a community to support each other and work together and be inclusive, allow people to have different views in safe spaces and move forward and find our way out of here. So thank you, Mayor. Just a few things I want to touch on.
Thank you. And I'll just be brief. Just want to say thank you to council and staff, as I always do, for your hard work that you've put in the last month. It's been a month since we had a meeting. It's been difficult time, and I just want to thank everybody for supporting each other and you know, looking to the future and going forward, but always with the best interests of the residents at heart. I also want to say thank you to the staff and the students at Holy Trinity Elementary, who always excellent to reach out to me to come and be. I went over on, day was it? I don't remember. Friday, was it? Yeah, to be secret reader for Literacy Week.
Oh, I gotta respond to that when you're finished.
And you know what? I love having that opportunity to go to the schools and see the children, and they get a big kick out of me going over there, and they. I don't know what to say. It's just, to me, that elementary school is where my kids went. It's where I went, for God's sake. And you know, it's dear to my heart, and I always appreciate any opportunity to get to go and spend some time with the kids and help do whatever it is that they want me to do. So, thank you for that.
Very quickly, can I say, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I got to say it. I just want to confirm that, yes, you did make an impression on those young little children over there. I had a 5-year-old grandson came over, And we asked how his day went, because we knew it was special, and I think his man was over with him. But anyway, he said, Nan, there was a man that read a book to us. I said, what man? Do you know who he was? He said, no, Nan, but he was an old man.
Oh, that's not what he was expecting.
And I didn't know who he was talking about till my husband called me around 10:30 that night to say, Rhonda, come down. I think this is who Jacob's talking about.
That's all right.
Sorry, I had to put it out there.
I hope I'll be called an old man for the next 40 years. Do we have anybody that got any questions they want to ask on the Q&A besides Jimmy? All right. Our next public council meeting is scheduled to take place Monday, February 17th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. right here in council chambers at Talator Bay. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Fred, I didn't get that on the record.
That's all right, Rhonda, bye.
Too cute.